Good morning, everyone. I have a great panel of air charter operators and brokers with me, so could I please ask you to join me on stage? Perla, Paul, Heron, please come up. And while they get situated, my name is Per. I'm with Avinode. I've had the pleasure to be in this industry now for almost 25 years. Never worked as a broker, never worked as an operator. We are a technology platform for air charter. We are extremely passionate about what you guys need and the pain points of the industry and see how we can transform it in technology. I will have Slido up and running on my iPad. Because while we have prepared topics and questions, what's really interesting is to make sure that we answer your questions, your thoughts. If you feel like we have an interesting subject and you don't want to type it, please just raise your hand and we'll get the microphone to you so that we can have an interactive dialogue. These panels are much more fun if we have a dialogue. So my challenge to you guys is get your Slido questions up, or even better, raise your arm and we'll get the microphone to you. Are we missing one? Switch. Okay. So, we will spend the next 30 minutes talking about air charter in the region. And I will hand off to my panel to both introduce themselves, who they are, which company they represent. And we are, of course, very interested to understand the challenges between 24 and 25, and also the perspective of charter going forward. So, Heron, why don't you start?
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Per. It's a pleasure to be here, first of all. And I'm Heron Nobre from Aviacao Executiva. I'm Air Services and FBO Director. I'm responsible for charter, aircraft management, and FBO operation across Brazil. Well, talking about air charter market in Brazil, we are seeing a strong demand for corporate jets against in this year against last year, 2024. We are seeing this strong demand growing, but not only for jets, but we are seeing for turboprops increasing the demand. And in my opinion, it's because of customers, clients that are discovering the time saving in flight privates. What else? And we have a demand for turboprop because of only 150 cities, airports are attending by airline. So we have more 3,000, 4,000 airports. So we need charter and especially turboprops to do it. That's my vision. And for this year, I think it will continue growing. After COVID, we've seen a double-digit growing in charter in Brazil. I think in the world, but here in Brazil. And in my opinion, it will continue growing this year and next year. Why is that? Because of what I've said, and because since 10 represent tax aviation in Brazil, and we are selling a lot of aircraft, turboprops, jets, helicopters, we have a strong backlog for this year, for 2006, for 2007. So definitely it will continue growing. That's my opinion.
Perla, you're based in Argentina.
Yes, bom dia. Muito obrigada para la participación no Corporate Jet Investor Sao Paulo. Yes, I'm based in Buenos Aires, but I run operations in Argentina and Uruguay, and we have a few November aircraft, only 2, but so we have a full view on the expectations and the situation with owners and with charter and with the difference between brokers and operators. What we are seeing, so 2024 was a super good year for us with a lot of growth. We obtained our AOC in Argentina. So we are now taking aircraft under management for charter operations. One of the differences with this AOC, of course, we operate a heavy jet, a Gulfstream, but now we are also taking smaller turboprops, even pistons across the country, because there is a need in tiny towns for people to be connected faster. And so we are now affecting, well, I don't know if that is correct in English, but we are taking now an aircraft in the north of Argentina, another one in the south of the province of Buenos Aires, and another one in Patagonia. So that means we will have bases everywhere and building from the bottom up. For 2025, the first quarter for us in terms of charter has been slower than we expected for different reasons. Well, our jet had maybe a maintenance issue, so we couldn't do the flight that we had booked. But regardless of that, our owners, what we are seeing is that something that it was mentioned before, where is the money? Our clients, at least in Argentina and Uruguay, they are concerned about investment. So they are combining their flight between their private jets, their charters, with commercial airlines. That is something that created an alert, at least for me. So I'm analyzing what is going on their heads. So our clients operate in America a lot. Their companies are based in America, and maybe that is related to that. We are seeing also a change in terms of owners being a bit not so happy about chartering their aircraft, and we are seeing a move forward to Part 91 operations, maybe even fractional ownership, maybe 2 or 3 friends sharing an aircraft. And for 2025, I'm expecting another year for growth for Aerowise in terms of, well, management, and we are launching technology, so in terms of what that technology will make difference for our clients. And charters, I still have my doubts. It will be super good. We'll see.
Paul, please.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Paul. I'm the CEO of Flapper. We are the on-demand air charter platform based out of Sao Paulo. Flapper is a global company with a slant towards Latin America. More than 60% of our revenues come from outside of Brazil, heavily focused on countries such as Mexico, Argentina, US, and more Europe. Few numbers to highlight our footprint. We have, as of last week, 3,250 aircraft on our on-demand inventory. Nearly 500,000 people have downloaded our app so far. So that's, I believe, #1 in the world within mobile. We have 30,000 paid clients. And yeah, heavily focus on private jet segment, and especially in Brazil, turboprops and helicopters. The big news for 2025 is that we are in the process of announcing an acquisition of an existing air taxi operator. One of our shareholders has already bought the first jet, which will become part of our fractional fleet. So we are also transitioning, expanding vertically in Brazil to offer fractional shares, which is a natural path of expansion for a company like ours, whereas abroad we will continue offering on-demand flights. Since we are a marketplace, we are a demand-side platform, we are a bit more objective, so I won't be affected as much by certain market tendencies. We try to be always, in the middle. So yeah, the prices are growing, the market is becoming more and more challenging overall, complex, but yeah, we're trying to always get you the best private jet at the best price, and sort of, be objective. So that's our role, really. If you need an aircraft, whether it's in Brazil or abroad, you can use our technology, and charter it within, 2 hours, perhaps.
Thank you, guys. I didn't have the opportunity to join CGI here last year. I tried to go to as many events as possible that Alistair and Louisa organizes, so it's a pleasure to be here. Yesterday and today, it's great to see the dynamic energy in the Brazilian and Argentinian market and across the region. It's quite different from the atmosphere in the US and Europe currently. So, Paul, you have clients and suppliers across the continent. Could you sort of share some lights about the differences in their needs or the way they are structured? I believe you're in Colombia, Argentina, Brazil. Of course, you have clients in the US as well.
Yeah, sure. So Latin American market, it's important to understand that it's not all the same, right? Everybody thinks, well, everybody speaks Spanish or Portuguese, so probably the markets are similar. The truth is, Brazil is probably the only diversified air charter market in Latin America. You have agribusiness, you have oil and gas sector, you have large corporations, corporate aviation, you have, helicopter transfers in Sao Paulo, panoramic flights. So we have a little bit of everything, which makes it very complex, but it is a true market with a nice critical mass. Then if you look at our footprint in Argentina and Chile, it is a bit different, obviously. Perla can complement, but then it's way more focused on key cities such as Buenos Aires and Santiago, respectively, more private jets. Customers are mostly related to, government syndicates, a lot of tourism as well, which in relative terms is a bit smaller in Brazil. And then going up, Colombia, definitely oil and gas and tourism, and Mexico is largely influenced by domestic large, conglomerates, entrepreneurs, corporate aviation, as well as incoming traffic from the US and Europe. So it's actually really impressive. If you look at Part 135 in Mexico, it is 80% international clients. Wealthy Mexicans, they own their own private jets and use services of quite literally 2 companies. Also, when you look at the composition of the fleet, so Brazil is largely turboprop based. If you look at 2024, actually number 1 aircraft that Flapper chartered was a helicopter, AS350. Number 2 was Caravan, number 3 was King Air. But if you look at our revenues, number 1 was Legacy, number 2 was Global Express, number 3 was Gulfstream. So you see how complex and challenging the market is. You can't just really focus on one single type of aircraft. If you want to be successful in this market, you have to be, present across different aircraft types, geographies, etc. Brazil is also not just Sao Paulo, right? We have a lot of demand in Rio, which is the 2nd largest city in the world for rotor wing traffic. We have a lot of demand in Belo Horizonte. We have Brasilia. We have the Northeast. Then it is more focused in Chile, Argentina, and then Colombia. Again, you have Bogota, but you have also Medellin, Cali. You have Cartagena. So it's roughly 20-25% between these cities. And then Mexico, Toluca, it's definitely the main hub for business aviation, but still a lot of traffic between Monterrey and the US, Houston, etc. Los Cabos to LA, which is the number 1 route for private jets in Latin America, and then Cancun with Central America, Florida. So yeah, as you see, many layers of the market, not just one single type of client, and that makes you and your team well-versed and really prepared for literally quite any type of request. So I guess it's a pretty complex environment.
Thank you, Paul. You started touching on one of the audience question, which is, where is the biggest growth in charter demand? Is it trending more towards domestically or international? Perla and Heron, do you want to give your perspective on this?
Sure. For us, it's more international. We are doing flights in Europe as well for European passengers. We are doing a lot of flights to Middle East and to Israel.
Well, for us, it's more domestically, because we have we don't have heavy jets in our fleet, so for them, domestically, it's growing fast.
Thank you. I saw there was also a question from Philippe in terms of Avinode and helicopters. We constantly try to expand our offerings and what we are supporting. We try to do that consciously with combining technology and market development. Right now, we have a push for air ambulance. It started as an embryo project during COVID, and now expanded into medical assistance companies using Avinode, and now expanding into air ambulance, so specific aircraft. So that's the focus right now. Helicopters is always on the list of future topics that could be added. So while we have a solution, it's not very comprehensive today. That might change in the future, but right now it's air ambulance that we are focused on. So turboprop is a very important sector in the Latin American market. We had a presentation earlier that showed the growth in jets and turboprops. There is at times a tendency to believe that the aircraft cabin size get bigger and bigger, and that would translate to turboprop being replaced by light jets. But Perla, you touched on it a little bit, right? You're bucking the trend. You have a Gulfstream, ultra long range, and you're adding additional aircraft in Argentina.
Yeah. So something that is happening with the owners we are dealing with, what we are observing in Argentina, is there is a new generation of owners. They are younger, and they get their first aircraft. Maybe it's a long-range aircraft. I will put an example of a real situation, a Falcon 7X. And this owner became fascinated about the idea of becoming a pilot. So now he's also a pilot, but of course he cannot fly his 7X, so he bought a turboprop. And first a smaller one even, a Pipistrel. So anyway, all his friends are doing the same. There is a big trend in Argentina of young entrepreneurs. They are in their mid-40s or 30s, and those are moving the needle for the turboprops or the smaller aircraft, the lighter. And from Zeros to Caravans, Cessna 206 or 182, there is a renewal of the fleet as well. And the light jets are being renewed in Argentina. We are starting to see newer M2s and CJs coming, as well as heavy jets.
Heron, anything to add on the growth of turboprops in the Brazilian market?
Yeah, it's growing more than the jets. We can see in the numbers, I think Flavio showed, or how it's increasing more. And we are seeing that, in my vision, is because we have short runways, we have agribusiness, a strong agribusiness in Brazil. We have the two largest, world's largest company for meat in Brazil, JBS and Marfrig, it's the two biggest. So we need this kind of aircraft, turboprop, and King Air is the king. I'm suspicious to speak about King Air, but it is the right aircraft for this kind of operation. And of course, clients, they are looking for cabin space, more comfortable jets, and time savings. But for our geography, the King Airs and the turboprops, it fits best. That's why it's increasing. And there is another reason, in my opinion, since TEM represents Textron and sell King Airs, we have the best sales team, so we are selling more King Airs, more turboprops.
I would agree with that.
You cannot speak about air charter without talking about illegal air charter. And I'm really glad that, as you see in the agenda, it's not called gray charter. Because whenever you see gray charter, you should correct the organizer or the speaker, saying there's no gray zone on illegal charter. Gray charter make it sound like it's somehow almost legal. It is illegal. There is someone who is willingly breaking the rules. It's just a question of who. So, Paul, what do you think are the biggest challenges when it comes to illegal charter in the region, and what could be the drivers behind it?
You know, Latin American culture is a relationship-driven culture. You're Swedish, I'm Polish. We are process-driven cultures. We are more like we are cold people, right? Here it's a lot about, you know, you're my friend. Why don't you just rent me your jet? And that's very difficult to overcome. So these cultural aspects, they will always exist. And then the biggest issue are technically specialized brokers that put within their offer someone else's jets which are not certified for air taxi. But I have to say that I'm very positive when it comes to the, let's say, growth of the legalized part of the market. If you look at the last few years, you know, when we started our business, it took almost 2 years for you to set up an air taxi company and perhaps 6 months for you to register an aircraft on Part 135. You can now do it in, you know, 2 months, sometimes in 2 weeks if you already have an existing aircraft within your specifications. So I think that despite everything, you know, ANAC has done a decent job simplifying the rules, and that's probably the biggest, you know, driving factor behind air taxi. My first digital inventory counted 580 commercial aircraft in Brazil. We are now at 720. So look at the difference. We have 720 aircraft you can actually charter. So that's the third in the world. Mexico has 800 something, and then Brazil has 720. But still, you know, some things are just difficult to explain. I actually asked the guys to
It's
show
up
us a
there on the
picture.
side there.
Yeah. I mean, how can you possibly put the word public transport on a private jet? I mean, nobody knows really who created this idea within ANAC, but it's probably the single most unexplainable thing in a Brazilian market. In Mexico, they solved it in a very simple way. If you have a commercial aircraft, your tail number is XA. If it's private, it's XB. And if it's government, it's XC. Why can't we adopt a similar approach? Because trust me, these type of items is exactly what drives illegal charter in Brazil. Now, again, we have a very positive trend. The market is ready for sharing economy. There's also something that is blatantly clear that people want to share. They are more keen to charter. They're more keen to basically be and not necessarily own. So overall, I think that we should remain positive, and there are certain adjustments to be made on the market. But again, I'm in a marketplace position, right? So I'm not as much affected as someone else who perhaps loses their flight to next door hangar that specializes in illegal, right? So I think Perla should perhaps respond to this one.
So taking from your last comment, who is missing out with illegal charter? Well, I think the entire industry missed out because it devalues what we are selling, which is the value of professional aviation. And I think responsible for that, and I will talk about Argentina specifically, what we have is owners, so pilots that want to fly, owners that realize that the aircraft is parked and they could make a few pennies on it, and they say, it's just this one flight, he's my friend, like you said. And so owners and pilots are accomplices, and also the authorities, in my country at least. Why? Because they have been neglecting the procedure for affecting aircraft to an AOC, and it takes so long that some people just prefer not to do it. And so that contributes to have private owners renting their aircraft, and we try, by all means, we don't charter any aircraft that is not under an AOC, and we also make sure they comply with the standards of maintenance and crew training, and they follow all the rules that we all should follow. So I think in Argentina we have a new trend with the new authorities, trying to put everything back on place and creating a new aviation, but it takes time to educate the entire industry, no? From owners, pilots, and brokers.
Heron, if you had an ask from the authorities of a wish list of 2 things that they should do that would help combat illegal charter, what would they be?
Well, in my vision, illegal charter, and we say in Brazil, táxi aéreo pirata, or TACA, in my vision, is a crisis undermining the entire industry. It's not just a problem. My wish is the authorities, they should have more ramp inspection. I wish they have more people, more staffs to do it, and they don't have enough. And the penalties, in my vision, should be higher. I don't know, like FAA does in US, like criminal charges for operator that are doing illegal charter. That's my wish.
Yeah, for those not familiar with aviation in the Middle East, it's quite interesting what the Saudi government did in order to combat illegal charter, in the sense of changing the regulations, having fines and ramp inspection that quickly yields to them confiscating the aircraft. They have also opened up for external operators to come in and fly domestic, so they have really in quite quickly changed how illegal charter works. It's good to see that the audience also all agree that illegal charter is a big problem. Some questions, because I asked for questions, so let's make sure that we start covering some. One, I believe, was slot control at Congonhas Airport. Heron, maybe you're based there, right? So how does that impact charter?
It's we need 1 week to discuss this, not 10 minutes, because it's a huge problem nowadays. They reduce 50% the number of slots for general aviation since January, and we are facing a lot of trouble. The main problem is we have some companies using robots to get slots, and it's not fair to other operators. We are facing problems. They are selling slots, so for charter, several times we had to move the aircraft from Congonhas to other airports to do the charter. The operators need help in this issue, the slot issues, and the robots and everything. So we are working together with ABAC and the authorities to try to solve this problem. But nowadays, it's a huge impact at least for us, that wants to do the right thing, the right way.
Another topic that's usually affiliated with aviation is sustainability. And depending on where in the world you are, it's either an issue or it's considered a non-issue. Especially thinking about Europe versus the US. We had one question that said, how do you see the evolving expectation around sustainability and ECG compliance influencing charter fleet management and operational strategy? So when it comes to sustainability and ECG, I will open up the floor.
I mean, we implemented 2 years ago the FAS book and claim program in Brazil. So you have your private jet flight, we tell you how much you spent, and you can basically claim it as a CEO benefit, CO2, right? And somewhere in the world, we will fill the equivalent into some other private jet, which is the only thing you can do right now in Latin America because we don't have SAF the way Europe does or the US. Demand, 0. So if you ask me, I have to be very clear. People are not worried about it in Latin America. It's not a concern. The closest, or the closer we got to sustainability in the last 3 years was when the mayor prohibited helicopter operations within close proximity to kindergarten. Other than that, if you look at our mobile app, we still have 27 helipads available on demand for daily operations in Sao Paulo. So again, it's just a different market. I think that eventually these things will hit it, but as of today, the end user and the government don't seem to be worried that much. There are certain SAF initiatives. Nothing has been really formalized.
Yeah, I agree with Paul. We do offer to owners and passengers to offset their carbon emission after a year of operation. We do it through a company in Argentina that owns land in Mesopotamia, so we can see how they are compensating this. But like Paul says, there is not a lot of interest, especially because it costs money. So I think we have to do a lot of education about it to passengers and owners and to operators as well, to be more conscious. I think it all will affect into cost, which is a huge topic, at least for us at the moment.
Okay, and with that, I want to thank you guys in the audience. You have sent a lot of questions. I know we haven't been able to answer all of them. I know that we all will be available in the break if it's anything concerning any of the topics we covered and what we have not covered. So thank you very much, and thank you, my panel.
Thank you. Placer.
Thank you.